Says we're live.
How you coming, Tim?
Good. We're okay. We are live now. I just need to.
I'll call a LRRC.
One more second. I'm sorry.
Committee.
We need to. Okay, it's being recorded now as well.
All right, I'll do it again. Call the LRRC committee meeting to order at about 9:02. Hopefully you're all healthy. Hopefully your families are healthy and your friends. And Deb, are you ready to brief us on the status of the COVID-19?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in this morning's report, we have 7 new cases. 4 of those cases had known contacts, so they were individuals who were already under quarantine as a result of being exposed to a positive case. And then the other 3 were not, and we really can't determine where their exposure might have occurred. And this is pretty typical for us right now. We're seeing about a 40–50% each day of the new cases were individuals who were already under quarantine, which I believe speaks to the importance of the quarantine, because if people under their quarantine are really adhering to what they're instructed to do, they're staying home, they're isolating themselves from anybody outside of their house, and also isolating themselves as best they can within their household, it really helps to limit that spread of infection to other people. So we appreciate everyone's cooperation in adhering to the quarantine orders. Thus far, we've had 363 positive cases, and we have 40 active cases that will be reported today. And as you can see, the dashboard that Tim has up, this is as of yesterday, I believe. I don't believe it's been updated, right? It's got 12/8. So my staff at Public Health are working with Kristen Van Horn at Planning. And so each morning about 9 o'clock, the dashboard is being updated. And we're very appreciative of the work that Kristen has been able to do in using GIS to get this information out to the public. We currently have 30 individuals who are hospitalized, and we have 318 individuals who have recovered. And I know we get a lot of questions on social media, and I see it in the other counties too that report recovered, of what does that mean? So when we're talking about recovered, it's folks who have tested positive, and now they are no longer under isolation. So it could be that an individual still has a lingering cough, or they haven't completely gotten their sense of taste or smell returned, but essentially their symptoms are improving. They've completed that 10-day mandatory isolation period, which is when they are deemed to be infectious, and they are recovered at that point. So unfortunately, we've had 5 deaths in individuals in our community, and we currently have 181 individuals under quarantine as a result of being a close contact. One of the things that we look at each day is the positivity rate, both the 7-day rolling average and the 14. So our 7-day rolling average is 3.3%, 14-day was 3.9. And this is actually a little bit improved from what it had been, and is definitely better than what we're seeing here in the northern counties. The southern tier region 7-day rolling average is 2.2, and the 14-day is 7.8. But you can see the Finger Lakes positivity rate is continuing to stay high. So hopefully we're going to start to see a improvement in our northern counties as well. We're doing a
And just,
lot of, oh, go ahead.
oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to emphasize that this is the data that's available to everyone, and it's updated daily, by the state. So from here, besides looking at the regions, you can then drill down by county and look at every county in the state. These numbers largely correspond with ours. So when we want to look at Schuyler's, it's, that will give us, as Deb just the numbers you outlined, but you can also see the trend. And if you hover over each graph, it will give you the data for each day as well. Also, you can toggle between the 7-day and the 14-day average. Our 7-day is, as Deb said, 3.3. Our 14-day, this is as of 12/8 or as of 12/7. So it's a couple of days behind, but so it's a good tool. If you're not aware of it, it's the New York Forward website and then the dashboards. So sorry to interrupt that, but just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of the data. It's readily available.
And I would also say, as Tim mentioned, the numbers correspond pretty well between the number of cases that the county reports having positive in any given day versus what New York State reports. There are discrepancies, and some of that occurs because of inaccurate information sometimes, or incomplete information on the lab results. So it may be, for example, a college student who, they're going to college in Syracuse, but their home address is Montour Falls. So when they have their test done, it lists Montour Falls and Schuyler County as their residency. But when we do the investigation, we find they're living in Syracuse. They haven't been in Schuyler County. They're not truly our positive case. And so we don't count them in our numbers. And their case gets transferred to the appropriate county. And it works in the reverse. We've had individuals too that get reported to a different county, and then we find out that they're actually residing in our county. So the numbers that we are reporting at the county level are the case investigations with the positive lab reports on individuals that we know are currently residing in our county.
Hey, Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Van Harp. Are there any hot spots in this vicinity?
I didn't catch all of what you said, Mr. Harp. Sorry.
Sorry. Are there any hot spots in this vicinity?
No, I wouldn't say right at this point that there is. I think people should assume that it is throughout our community and also in our neighboring counties. It's throughout. We don't have any particular workplace clusters or school clusters that we're working on right now. And
Okay,
actually, just in terms of schools, I want to compliment the work that our school districts are doing. They have really done a wonderful job of putting together plans to keep their students and to keep their staff safe. And we are not seeing spread within our school buildings. Where we do see the spread is what happens outside of the school buildings. So, the family gatherings, the gatherings with friends, birthday parties, get-togethers, but it's not, we're not seeing spread within our school building between students or between staff and students.
Okay, thank you.
Deb, do you have anything else for the group?
I was just going to mention two other things. So we continue to work with our schools in preparation if they were to be identified in a yellow, orange, or red zone and need to be doing COVID testing. So I actually will be training the nurses at the Watkins Glen District on Friday so that they will have the test kits and be able to do the testing should they need to if they go into one of those yellow, orange, or red zones. And then we also are continuing to work with our partners at Office of Emergency Management and the Schuyler Hospital to prepare for the receipt of COVID vaccine and be able to offer that to our essential workforce, our first responders, and then eventually to the general public. So we have some really good partners at the hospital and then also with Bill Kennedy. And at this point, the state is encouraging that all counties look at a drive-through model for their general open pods for the general public. And so through Bill Kennedy, he has been able to get approval from WGI that we would be able to use WGI as a site for our drive-through pods for the public to receive vaccine.
That's good. Questions for Deb?
Yeah, and this is a bit general for the ledge too, but I've been reading that Steuben and Chemung are going to be doing basically public testing for inviting everybody within the county to come in. Did somebody say something? Just inviting everybody to come in for tests so that they can get an idea of the broader rate within the community rather than just those who are symptomatic. And I'm wondering, is that something, does anybody know where they got the funding for that? And is that something that we could explore?
So all of the counties, we have been given additional COVID funding to use for case investigation, and I can use some of the funding for testing. It's not so much the funding, it's finding the people to do. So, for example, I have funding to cover another full-time public health specialist, just not getting the applications from people. And for the public health nurse that I hired, I had one application. So I guess I would say it's not really the funding that's the issue. It's having the folks who can actually do the testing. I am working with a federally qualified health center to see if they could set up a testing site in Yates County, and then I would, through the county, we would pay for their services, and likely they might be willing to do the same thing for us in Schuyler. But I also know that Schuyler Hospital is willing to work with us. But right now, what Schuyler Hospital is telling us is that they're doing their drive-through testing Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and they're not turning people away. So I think if, with the exception of if people truly have no symptoms and they haven't been there's no known exposure, their insurance is probably not going to pay for it.
That's correct. And my understanding is with Chemung and Steuben that this is an open invitation for everybody, and that gives a much better idea of, and I'm just trying to understand, would it be possible for you to contact them and find out how they're doing this, how it's being funded?
Sure. Yes, I certainly can talk with Peter and Darlene.
Yeah, I read about this and it seemed like it might be a valuable thing to investigate so that we could get an idea of broader community positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Just for information, I had considered traveling out of state over Thanksgiving and spoke with Schuyler Hospital, and the fee for testing was $99.
Right. Yep. Because your insurance wouldn't cover it.
Right. If you didn't have a doctor's referral, or if you hadn't been in close contact, yeah, the fee's $99. It was interesting that the Village of Waverly provided testing, not only for Cuyahoga County residents last week, but for out-of-county residents. That's a good question, Mark. Where did the funding come from?
Anything else, Deb?
I don't have anything further.
Questions for Deb? Stacy, I apologize. I didn't do the roll call, but do you have enough data so we don't need to do that?
Correct. I'm good. I have everybody but Legislator LaSalle appears on the line.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I will sign off now then.
That'd be fine. No problem
Okay.
at all.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Deb.
you very
Thank
much.
you,
I
Deb.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Appreciate your time. Stacy, I guess we are at the resolution point.
Okay. Intro 1, authorize 911 recorder software maintenance contract with Wilmac Business Equipment Company Incorporated for the 911 Center Emergency Management. Intro 2, authorize extension of the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services Caseload Relief Grant Contract, Public Defender. 3, authorize 2-year contract with Day Automation Systems Incorporated for security service and maintenance, buildings and grounds. 4, accept bid for 5-year contract with Bison Elevator Service Incorporated for elevator repair, test, and maintenance, buildings and grounds. 5, authorize on contract with Clear Lake Community Health for outreach services, social services. 6, authorize rental agreement with Quadient for a new postage meter, Office for the Agent. 7, resolution approving receipt, release, and discharge in the estate of Virginia G. Houseneck, AKA Virginia Lee Houseneck, Office for the Aging. 8, recognize Father Michael as the 2020 New York State Office for the Aging Older New Yorker of the Year nominee for Schuyler County, Office for the Aging. 9, recognize the Schuyler County Learning Pod for their receipt of the Volunteer Innovation Award from the Association on Aging in New York, Office for the Aging. 10, authorize an interdepartmental agreement with the Schuyler County Weights and Measures for a shared administrative assistant, public health. 11, authorize additional public health emergency preparedness grant supplemental COVID-19 funding from the New York State Department of Health, Public Health. 12, authorize contract amendment with 1011 Group Incorporated for additional software ECR module one-time setup fee, community services. 13, authorize grant contract amendment with the New York State Department of State for additional downtown revitalization initiative DRI funding, Planning Department. 14, authorize contract amendment with Schuyler Electric Corporation for additional electrical work, Planning Department. 15, resolution to express Schuyler County's support for Cornell Cooperative Extension Heat Smart FLX program. 16, Republican Election Commissioner appointment. 17, Democrat Election Commissioner appointment. 18, authorized contract with BPAS Actuarial and Pension Services LLC for 2020 actuarial valuation studies for compliance with GAS number 75, Human Resources. 19, authorized memorandum of agreement with the Schuyler County Road Patrol Association, Human Resources. 20, set dates, 2020 year-end meeting and the 2021 organizational meeting of the Schuyler County Legislature. 21, authorized distribution of mortgage tax receipts pursuant to Section 261 of the New York State Tax Law for the period April 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020. 22, supporting the recognition of national trafficking and modern slavery prevention during the period beginning on January 1st, 2021 and ending on February 1st, 2021 to raise awareness of and opposition to human trafficking and modern slavery. County Attorney. 23, authorized transfer of funds for the purchase of a microfilm reader scanner. County Clerk. 24, authorized Town of Hector delinquent water bills to be charged on the January 2021 town and county tax bills, real property tax service. 25, authorized Town of Reading delinquent sewer and water bills to be charged on the January 2021 town and county tax bills, real property tax service. 26, authorized transfer of funds for tax foreclosure title searches, Treasurer. And 27, authorized transfer of funds for court interpreter services, Legislative Office. In my 26 years here in this office, we've never ever received a bill from a village court, but according to law, the county is responsible for $25 of their bill for an interpreter at the Village of Watkins Court. And we all actually are getting another bill in next week, so it's $50 this year.
So should the resolution reflect that?
It should. I thought it did. Maybe I just changed the word version. Yes, it should say 2 invoices and the amount should be $50. We'll make sure we correct that. We're unsure whether we're going to get these in the future. If we do receive some next year, it's Holly's recommendation that we actually create a different budget account, a new budget account for such expense. I don't know how we will budget accordingly because it's an unknown from every year, but this is how we're going to handle the bills for this year.
Do we have a list of readily available interpreters? I know that DSS has money in their budget also for interpreters. Maybe
these are actually state Office of Court Administration provided interpreters for municipal courts.
Okay, other questions about the resolutions for Monday night? All right. Let's go. Jim, thank you, Stacy. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Jim, can you? Go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No.
You were going to update on the law enforcement.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were at that point yet or not, but yeah, I just have following up from past discussions just to keep you apprised of the status of the police reform compliance. We are beginning to further that process, I guess. The survey results have been received. I met with the sheriff and undersheriff and Kristen yesterday to review that. We have established or are in the process of establishing the local committee. It has representation or will have representation from the school districts, the district attorney, the public defender, mental health, clergy, not-for-profits, DSS, probation, local government. And from that, I understand that there will be a legislative appointment the chairman will be making. the not-for-profits at this point that have been invited to participate, United Way and Spirit of Schuyler. We intend to have a public meeting on January 12th. It will be the opportunity for the sheriff to review the survey results, and I can send you out the survey results so you have them as well. That we had about 180 responses, and it's largely positive, and it was a good. But you can read through them yourselves, and if there are questions, we can address that. But in any event, on the 12th would be a public meeting. From there, we will write the plan that the legislature will ultimately have to adopt or accept. And my goal is to have that presented to you. There will be a public comment period prior to that, but my goal would be to have the legislature have completed the public comment portion and then be ready to adopt at the March meeting. And it's be submitted to the state by April 1st. That's where we're at with that. I don't know if there are any questions, but I just wanted to keep you updated on the progress of that initiative. And I don't have anything else beyond that unless there are questions for me.
Where and when is the public meeting on January 12th?
January 12th, 6 p.m. It will be a virtual meeting.
Of course. Thank you.
Anything else, Tim? Is that it?
That's all I have unless you have any questions for me.
Okay. Questions for Tim?
And unrelated, Tim, what's the status of the solar farm up at the WGI?
It's moving through the Article 10 process. It's scheduled to begin construction in 22. So it's a ways away from beginning, but it is still very much a project, and they are completing all their necessary filings and notifications.
Good.
Other for Tim?
I have a question
Okay.
for Tim, and this has to do with a different county, Chemung County, where Executive Moss came up with a theory that any legislator that is standing on a committee, it is deemed that they are lobbyists for that committee for money or anything like that. Is that a legitimate concern?
I'm giving you my opinion, and then I will defer to the county attorney for his take on it as well. But all I know is what I read in the media. But I would say the position is flawed by virtue of sitting on a board that does not inherently create a conflict of interest. All of these boards are non-paid volunteer boards. Some are mandated to have representation by the county on. Simply sitting on a board does not create a conflict from that. There is no personal gain or possibility of personal gain from either funding decisions by the legislature or decisions made by that board. So I would clearly say that, with all due respect to another county, that would not be my take on this. I don't know, Stephen, if you want to add to that.
As a general rule in the past, advisory opinions from the comptroller and or the attorney general have indicated that there is no prohibited interest in contract for a member of the legislature to sit on a not-for-profit advisory board, since there is no pecuniary benefit given to that legislator.
He said it much better than I do.
As I recall, the part 2 to that, I'm just thinking back to the story the other day, is that they were asking that particular legislator that came forward for additional funding, that they abstained from voting. But I found that quite intriguing also, that they could bar the person, the legislator, from voting on those additional funds. I guess this is just one more reason why I'm so thankful for Glenn Larson and the crew back in the day that we went with a county administrator rather than a county executive, because that county executive certainly seems to be running ramshod with with perhaps abuse of power, but it is what it is.
Well, without
Yep.
commenting on the authority of or actions of another county's officials, again, I would just say the same thing I said before, which is it's not a prohibited conflict of interest. And the prohibited conflict is what determines whether somebody should vote or not vote generally on a matter.
Any other questions on that subject? Let's go around the room. Phil, anything for the good of the order?
No,
Jim? Howell?
Nothing from me. Thank you, Chairman.
Dan?
Chairman.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Mike is not here, I understand. David?
We're all good.
Mark,
Could you appoint me
anything?
as county executor?
County what?
What was your
I was wondering
comment?
if you could appoint me as county executor.
There you go.
Just joking.
Executor or
Mark, anything for the good of the order?
Nothing here, sir.
Thanks, Mark. Gary, is Gary on?
yeah, I'm here. Mr. Chairman, when are we going to start looking at a replacement for Tim?
Right, at the beginning of the year. He's getting the
Okay.
job descriptions, HR is getting the
Yeah,
job
actually,
written, put together. We'll take a look at them, advertise for, resumes, applications. Be into probably the March timeframe that we'd have people for the individual legislators to interview and talk to.
Very good.
and actually
Thank-
Lori intends to bring that to committee this month with action that could be taken to create the deputy position at the year-end meeting and then advertise in January with a search committee that would involve, certainly the legislators that want to be involved in that. And then the goal would be to make an offer in March with potentially a May start date. So but that Lori intends to, provide all of that in committee this month as well.
Yeah, well, we should be on that timeframe. I missed the appointing of a deputy, but that we can do. Anything
That
else
would
around
be-
that?
Well, that was my understanding. Correct. If that's not the case, please let me know, because the understanding that I have is that we'd be creating a deputy position that I will work with through the transition. And then the legislature can decide whether to open up the position fully or elevate the deputy at the time of my complete departure. So that's the way that I'm proceeding on this.
Yeah,
So
I don't disagree with that.
so who's looking at making the appointment to deputy?
The legislature will make the appointment. I certainly will be heavily involved in the interview process, and the legislators that want to be involved can be in that. So that will be the process as I see it moving forward.
So it sounds like you got
It'll be
somebody in
similar
mind.
to-
You're not going outside to find a deputy?
No, we are. We're going to advertise it.
Oh, all right.
Well,
right.
hopefully.
We need to create the position first, and then we'll advertise it, then interview and select.
Well, we're going through it now. I mean, a similar pattern with cooperative extension. I've been pleased the way that the protocol for a cooperative extension director. And of course, tomorrow night, there's the Zoom meetings tomorrow night with the 3 candidates. I think that was very very forward thinking that they opened it up to the community, and hopefully we'll do the same thing with the county administrator.
It's actually,
Very important position.
it's actually a Cornell requirement that
That
they
is
do
okay.
that for a CCE direct
Mhm.
extension.
We had community meetings with cooperative extension when Phil came on board. So. There was two different speakers at that time.
As Mark indicated, that's a requirement of Cornell. That's the process they follow for every executive director recruitment.
It's a good process.
We can discuss it with management and finance when the resolution's on the agenda for creating the deputy as far as the next step.
Right.
All right, anything more around the county administrator? Had some dates. We do have the legislative meeting at 6:30 on Monday, the 14th. Committee meetings are the 21st, 22nd of December. 28th is the year-end meeting, and the 6th of January is the legislative startup and LLRC.
And Board of Health.
Anyone?
What was that first one?
Year-end meeting on the I'm sorry.
14th.
Year-end meeting the
Monday.
28th.
Right.
Legislative.
First one was our next regular meeting.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
I'll create the meeting and send out the links or send them to Stacy for distribution
Okay.
for all of the meetings that have been mentioned.
Tim, do you have anything else?
Very good.
Anyone have any other questions? All right, we will adjourn at